It's one thing to say somebody's better than the alternative, but it's another thing to go on and on and on gushing with comparisons to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Just don't think that's been earned.
Right.
Sorry, I don't think the record reflects that.
Are you on? Which side are you on?
So the 2024 AFL-CIO MLK Civil and Human Rights Conference, bringing together union members, organizers, activists, and leaders in historic Montgomery, Alabama to address civil rights and social justice challenges facing working people. It is taking place January 12th through 14th. So opened up yesterday. The theme of the 2024 conference is Our Voice, Our Ballot, Our Future, honoring Dr. King's vision for collective action at the voting booth, in the community, and in the workplace to safeguard the pillars of our democracy. Each day of the conference will explore different aspects of the theme with deep dives into community engagement, civic engagement, and political strategy, and the evolving landscape of workplaces and democracy. Yesterday was opening remarks, of course, from AFL-CIO President Elizabeth Schuler and the Secretary-Treasurer Fred Redmond. There were a couple panels as well that I got a chance to attend, and also remarks from the Acting Secretary of Labor, Julie Sue, which was interesting. Today, I see where former Alabama Senator Doug Jones will be there in attendance. There's going to be workshops and things of that nature happening. State Representative Laura Hall, I believe, is on a panel. And so that's a little bit about the conference. Like I said, I did stop in yesterday. Let me start, I guess, with the positives. I'm really, really appreciative that something like this is happening in Alabama. I'm appreciative of Isabel and Danielle at the AFL-CIO for allowing me to attend on a media pass yesterday. Appreciate that. So very thankful that I got a chance to pop in. It was well attended. They said 800 strong. So, they were having to bring in a lot more chairs to the main room. So seemed like, maybe it exceeded expectations. So those are all positives. Pretty good vibes, I would say. A little bit. The state Alabama AFL-CIO convention was pretty low energy, I would say, compared to this conference. Diversity-wise, it was definitely a lot of black members were there. It is, the MLK conference in Montgomery, and a lot of unions sent a lot of their black leaders to attend, frankly. And so, but there was a pretty good diversity, a good mix of white, black, Hispanic. There was not a ton of folks under 40. Probably not a surprise to folks, but yeah, not a lot of young people. Though I could tell from some of the programming that they were trying to intentionally bring young people into the conversation, and I do appreciate that. So kind of transitioning to some other thoughts about it. It seemed like with Schuler and with Redmond and with Secretary of Labor Julie Sue, they would say about 90% of the right thing, and then get into just real partisan Joe Biden puffery. Just really, really pumping up Joe Biden. I heard multiple times that the Biden-Harris administration is the most pro-union administration of our lifetimes, of history. I even heard.
Surely not history.
Let's see. Union Joe, he was called by the Secretary of Labor. And that, I understand, right? She is the Secretary of Labor. She works in the administration. Of course, she's going to promote her boss, the president, who's running for re-election. But you could have easily assumed that Elizabeth Schuler and Fred Redmond are also part of the Biden campaign. And I'm just going to say, frankly, that as a labor activist, that alienated me. Because when you tell me you don't want to cut any more excuses to politicians, you can't 60 seconds later then tell me how freaking great Joe Biden is. Because as a labor activist, I'm trying to look at it with clear eyes that there are certain positives to the Biden administration that we've seen for labor, but there's also a lot of negatives, okay? We can look at any number of them. From the coal miners in Alabama who got no help from Washington, D.C., to the rail workers whose right to strike was interfered with by this president, to the genocide happening overseas with our tax dollars. So there are there's a lot of room for critiques of the Biden administration, in my opinion, from the left. And obviously we have a lot of union members who are conservative, who are right wing, who are opposing Joe Biden for other reasons. But that did bother me because it just, I don't know. I just don't have a lot of good vibes about that approach. I appreciate that UAW has at least held out in their endorsement thus far and is kind of making Biden work for it a little bit. AFL-CIO did not make Biden work for it at all. And it just rings a little hollow when you're sharing the words of Dr. King and you're talking about shame on us if we're leaving people behind, and then transition that into pumping up this moderate conservative imperialist president who, has appointed a good person at the National Labor Relations Board and also isn't really lifting a finger to help that board.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
So it just really, that rubbed me the wrong way. I can't be the only one who attended who felt the same way. There were plenty of cheers and applauses to the Biden lines. So, obviously I can't say that everyone felt like me. In fact, I was probably in the minority given that it was a pretty establishment-friendly room, lots of leaders and bigwigs, so to speak. So that would be the other thing I would say is you need more rank-and-file members and you need more young members at these kind of events. I heard about it word of mouth. Like, AFL-CIO did not send me something in my mailbox. They did not email me. I am a labor activist. I am political coordinator for IATSE Local 900. I'm trustee for the North Alabama Area Labor Council. I have involvement in other campaigns as well, and co-host the Valley Labor Report, the only union talk radio show in the state of Alabama. Why did I hear about it word of mouth? So I do wonder, what kind of efforts are there in intentionally engaging rank and file workers and getting young workers to engage in this sort of conference, because, my criticism aside, I really enjoyed my time. It seemed like a really good conference. It seemed like a really good opportunity for labor community coalition building. So there was a lot of positives in that respect. I did appreciate Secretary Treasurer Fred Redmond's words about the Alabama forced prison labor lawsuit. But as Jacob pointed out, couldn't help but notice the irony in that Mayor Stephen Reed of Montgomery spoke at the conference. And the city of Montgomery is literally one of the employers accused in this lawsuit of using the convict lease labor. That's him. Like, he's the mayor.
He's the guy. Yeah.
Like, that's his government.
That's insane when you sent me that. I was flabbergasted.
I did have to step in and out a little bit. So I didn't hear Mayor Reed's comments. I'm not sure if anyone kind of pressed on that or if there was any, discussion of that, like putting it in context. I don't know. I missed. So, but yeah, those were some of my observations. So again, I'm very thankful for this happening in Alabama. I hope that the AFL-CIO will come back to Alabama and not forget about Alabama. I appreciated some of the programming. It was a lot of, positive, rah-rah, which is good. But also, remember, we've been losing for 50 years. We've had a couple good years where things seem like they're turning around, even though numbers-wise, we haven't made that big of a dent. Not yet. So I think I would have appreciated more like leveling with me about the realities of where we're at and like what we have left to do. I probably could have used a little bit more of that and a little bit less of the focus on the November election and voting for Joe Biden, particularly when you're talking to me, an Alabamian whose vote will not matter.
Right.
My vote will not matter in November because Alabama will go to the Republican by 20 to 30 points by any reasonable assessment, right? And we have an electoral college, which means it won't actually matter, right? So here you are using valuable time gathering movement leaders together, and we're talking about something that doesn't even apply to like half the room.
Right.
So yeah, those were my thoughts. I would definitely go again. And if nothing else, I got a chance to meet a lot of cool people. And, hell, that's half the reason to go to these kind of conferences is just to network and to meet cool people and hear what people are working on and hear new things. And so it was great to hear Tennessee for All and some of the really cool things they're doing not too far away from us. Heard a little bit about the Bluebird campaign in Georgia. There was a good panel on LGBTQ workers and how we advocate for and represent LGBTQ workers in our unions. And I think that was an important conversation to have in that space and with that audience. So yeah, there was a lot I liked, but the Biden stuff rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Otherwise gave me kind of a bad taste about an otherwise good experience. But, that's my opinion. Obviously, there are a lot of union members who have bought into the Biden campaign and, more power to you. But I particularly have a lot of critique, and I think we as a labor movement have to have much higher standards. It's one thing to say somebody's better than the alternative,
Right.
but it's another thing to go on and on and on gushing with compliments and, comparisons to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Just don't think that's been earned.
Right.
Sorry, I don't think the record reflects that. And I think an honest assessment of the record tells you that there are some good things, but there are some bad things, and we have some room for improvement. So that's my thoughts and reflections on the MLK conference. And I do think it's, important that labor engage with the legacy of Dr. King because Dr. King was absolutely a champion of labor. And so, I do think that's important, and it's important that that history be out there because labor rights and civil rights have always been intertwined. And those movements, both are needed and have to be working together to be successful.
Right. Yeah, I was particularly shocked when you sent me that picture of Stephen Reed at the podium. That was I think particularly galling. Shouldn't have been allowed on the podium, in my view. Should have been booed. But probably most of the attendants probably do not know about his implication in the labor trafficking case that the AFL has signed on to the suit for, but no excuse for the people who booked him.
Yeah, and again, if there are conversations that have taken place where Mayor Reed has denounced these practices, I'm happy to
All ears, yeah.
yeah, happy to take that in and receive it for what it's worth. But as far as I know, that hadn't happened, and so yeah, it did strike me as a little tone deaf.
Yeah.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.